Okay. BP Hero Podcast. Season number 7. Episode 2. 7 years. I guess you really stop and put in perspective. Granted, yes, there were times the show was spotty, you might say. But in the general idea of going clear back to season 1, episode 1, literally just decided, by the seat of our pants, me and Gabe decided to fuck it, let's podcast. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how to do it. We just knew what we wanted. And boy, how far it's come. It's evolved over the years. Obviously, we're doing it live now, so that's a little bit different. But I do enjoy the aspect of being live as opposed to just kind of sitting down and rambling to myself whenever I feel. It kind of obligates me to keep the content consistent, too. It's not like, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. No, you got to do it now because everybody's waiting on you. It's kind of like the nice thing about, same concept if you were to have a gym partner, somebody you go to the gym with, even if you two don't do the same thing. Just somebody to say, hey, what time are you going to be there? Oh, I'll be there at 5. Okay, I'll be there at 5. Or even if you stop and pick them up on the way. There's the obligation there of you know what, I'm not going. No, dude's waiting on you to meet him there, or you got to stop and pick him up. So it kind of works out. And it's kind of the same thing with the live podcasting. There's the obligation to do it. It's not that I hate doing it. I am so glad that I gave the podcast another diligent chance and went through being live and everything else. The verdict is still out on whether moving to the second channel to do this was a good idea or not. Our views are way down. Way down. I shouldn't say views are... Yeah, views are down a little bit. Watch time is way down. But I enjoy what it's done for the other channel. And it'll take off. I mean, obviously, we had a pretty important guest last week. And that drove a lot of extra traffic to the channel. I think we gained 10 or 12 subs just last week. And, we're at 80-something subs right now, which is perfectly fine. I would do this whether there was 5 people watching or 5,000 people watching. I would be doing this. There's people saying, oh, take it to Facebook. I've had a few of my friends suggest, take it to Facebook if it's flopping there or if it's flopping on YouTube. I just like the idea of having everything on YouTube. Doing it on Facebook probably would net a lot more views and a lot more things like that. Because, what's everybody doing? Everybody is, got their phone in their hand scrolling through Facebook. So it's easy to stop on a live video, especially if you know what it's about. But the other side of that, too, is just going to your Facebook page. Me going to my Facebook page and posting this link on there to get to this. Which, speaking of which, by the way, I'm going to give everybody just a minute to click the share button and go post it to their Facebook page. Let's see how many of you follow along. I'm going to go do the same myself. As soon as I change the title of this thing by just a little bit. Okay, save. Copy. I forgot to ask, too. Now that there's people in here, I guess I can, kind of do that. But how is everybody doing tonight? I always try and make it an opportunity. I need to slow down tonight. I always try and take the opportunity to ask everyone how they're doing. The ones that do want to interact, do say so in the chat, how everybody's doing, how they've been, what they've had going on, and that kind of thing. So hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's warm. It finally cooled off here. It finally did it. Okay. And I'll even make it easy on you. If you just want to go to the BP Hero Facebook page and share it from there. We'll share it around, y'all, you know? Alright, let's get into the chat here. Music down. I can handle that. Is that better? So I had all my broadcast settings kind of jumbled around a little bit for the guest last week, just to be able to hear him better and just kind of get us both like leveled out. I'm a very loud talker, and sometimes I'll get like really close to the microphone, but I wanted to try and like keep us level so it'd be like a little more enjoyable to listen to. So my audio stuff was messed up just a little bit, but it sounds like we got it dialed in. I had you guys give me some feedback there, so we're looking good there. I'm getting caught up with the chat here. Adam, what's up, dude? Fat Guy BP in the house. How you doing, buddy? Q doing Q things. What's up, buddy? How you doing? John, love the podcast. Hey, man, thanks. We appreciate it, man. We love you, too. We're all just here for the cause, right? We're all just here chilling. That's kind of something, you know, I always love explaining this stuff to everybody. It's like, oh, you podcast, you know, where at? And then, like, it's coming very soon. The ability to be able to host this different places where you can't just pull the audio and listen to it. I will always suggest going to YouTube and watching, because there is visual aids, and I'm even considering going to like a video style podcast. So, you know, we got some things in the works there, but I will always suggest going to YouTube and watching it. But the ability will be there to listen to the audio side of things very soon. I'm going to try my best to get on like Spotify or something like that. What? No, there's no video. So, sorry, I got distracted. No, it's okay. Squirrel. Anyway, so catching up with chat here. John, love the podcast. Love you too, man. Matthew Clark, just relaxing tonight. Dude, hey, that's a good thing. So I was watching the movie Trouble with the Curve. I've seen like bits and pieces of that movie, never watched it all the way through. Seemed like a decent movie. I'm a big Clint Eastwood fan. Actually watched Gran Torino last night, just coincidentally enough on TV too. But like all the old Westerns, like I'm not real big into the Westerns, but like the Clint Eastwood Westerns I could watch until like my eyes fall out of my head. Obviously you've got The Outlaw, Josie Wales, you've got Unforgiven, and then you got The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, Fistful of Dollars, for a few dollars more. You got all of that stuff. Yeah, I love it. I love all of it. So it's really awesome. So we're doing that tonight, then hit up the podcast here. So also, by the way, if there's any topics anybody does want to hear, I am going to go over a little bit of kind of some of my takeaways from the podcast with Kevin last week. If you'd missed last week's episode, we did podcast with Resmondo's middleman, our guy Kevin Bazat. It was an awesome podcast. I've been looking forward to doing that. Finally got it done, and he had a blast. This second the podcast was over, I immediately had a message on my phone. Yeah, hang him high is another good one. Immediately after the podcast over, had a message on my phone. Kev was like, hey, it was a blast. So I think what we may try and like hook up with him like mid-season after they've got a couple tournaments under their belt, and maybe check in with him then and see if we can't get a couple other of those guys on here. Maybe just kind of get them to talk shop. Maybe we can just kind of sit back and listen, you know, it'd be kind of cool. Mike Reyes, what's up, buddy? Jurgen Feltman, last week's episode was it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that. And I also didn't realize too, I don't know how many people sat through like that whole thing. It was kind of funny. Like usually the podcast only runs like an hour. Just because it's something where like I want to be embedded a decent hour, and I want you guys to be embedded a decent hour if you're live. And the fact of like, if I have a guest, like I don't want to be keeping them up all night either. But we'd just been sitting and talking, and the conversation was flowing. And the next thing I know, I look down and it's like 10:40, which we'd been podcasting for an hour and 40 minutes. And I was like, oh crap. But the funniest part of the whole thing was, he obviously the conversation was great, flow and everything else. But the funniest part was like, I think the most excited he got was talking about the macaroni and cheese question at the very end of the podcast. It was so funny. The buddy of mine that asked that question, he doesn't even play softball, but he's always on the Facebook page. He's the guy that says, I hope both teams have fun, or whatever it is he says on the live videos. And he's always asking silly questions in the Q&A thing. He asked that question. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask him. I mean, what's he going to say? I do know Kevin at least well enough to know that like that's something he'll play into. He'll answer that question. So I thought it was really funny that that's, you really felt the life committing there, at the end of the podcast, talking about macaroni and cheese of all things. Troy Strong, what's up, dude? How you doing? See, we're already 10 minutes into this thing. I guess it's just a night to ramble, huh? I usually give everybody, like I said, 10 minutes to get filed in and find their seats. Yes, I like that. Good. We're gonna start using it. I gotta write that down somewhere. File in, find a seat, and let's go, right? So Mike wants to know, let's see. I mean, I'll answer a couple of these questions, the question now, before I get into my topics here. Any goals for your reviews going forward this year? So I do have a handful of goals in mind. The two biggest ones are going to be getting reviews out more promptly. If a bat comes out and the interest is generated, it's really, something that's hitting quick, as far as selling and interest and that kind of thing. I need to be able to get that filmed and get it out and be ready for the next one. My goal is to be a little more prompt with getting reviews done. Then the other one is, I know it's a mixed bag when it comes to what people want, but I do want to do more ASA reviews. The crowd does seem to be a little bit leaning more towards the U-Trip side of things, but it seems like a lot of the loyal viewers are the ASA guys, and it seems like I always get a lot of interaction from the ASA stuff. It's interesting. It seems like, I don't know how to explain it. But I do want to do more ASA stuff. Bottom line, I mean, I had 8 freaking bats this year. That's kind of an anticlimactic best of list and video and everything. But I was committed to it. That's how I wanted to do it. I'm glad I did it. So the best of U-Trip, I know I promised it to you guys on like Monday or Tuesday. I've been on the grind. I'm probably going to try and get home early tomorrow and get that filmed and knocked out. They're super easy to do. I mean, it's just screen capture, throw my ugly face in the bottom, talk for a little bit, and slap some bats on a list. I did enjoy that, and I am going to try to maintain that list going forward for next year. At least in terms of like, what's this bat? How's this bat compare to this bat? Well, you can look at the list and see. You can look at the list and see, okay, this is something that he would swing, or this is something that he would not suggest. Or, it's a bat that he hated. And it does go with saying that, like, just because I didn't like it doesn't mean somebody else can't. Obviously, the hot topic of discussion in that best of video was actually the Sinister. And how much I didn't care for that. There's a lot of people saying, I felt the same way with the Sinister. I'm glad I wasn't crazy. And it was kind of a weird vibe because I was really afraid. I got to use my words wisely here. There's a big monster following, and I know some of them are just kind of like, have been just kind of like lurking in the weeds, waiting for the monster reviews to show up. And they finally did. And then for me to just flat out dislike that Sinister, I was waiting for just the hell to freeze over, the world to just fall apart. But it didn't. It went well. I was surprised. And again, in the video, it seemed like the Sinister was very hit or miss anyway. Thank goodness Brian had a decent round with that bat, or you all would have probably just like watched the first 5 seconds of that video and just clicked out of it. Just did not do it for me. Troy says, whenever you're ready to swing a black sheep, let me know. Yeah, well, I mean, no slam, just being, straight facts here. It's going to have to be probably like March or April before we can swing the black sheep, because it's got to be, 70 degrees outside? That's another thing that drives me crazy with the monster stuff, is it's got to be a certain temperature to swing it. And of course, he says, I'll allow 10 ASA bats for 2022. Yeah, we'll see. And that's honestly the other kicker with it is, there's just not a bunch of ASA stuff out there. I mean, yes, Monster releases a bunch of stuff. Anarchy releases a ton of stuff. The Monster stuff has obviously started making its way onto the channel, so that's something we'll probably try and do a little bit more of going forward. I'm not going to get into why I'm not going to do a ton of that. It'll probably just be stuff that Headbanger releases. Is probably going to be the main stuff I go after. But just a selection of ASA bats is kind of slim. Anarchy obviously releases 16,000 of the same thing with different graphics on it. And the Anarchy thing is kind of a conflict of interest too. If you're aware of who Anarchy is affiliated with and the only place you can get them, and who represents me and helps us out with all these reviews, and you can probably kind of do the math on that. I'm not going to get into that politics thing right now, but it is kind of a conflict of interest to do a bunch of Anarchy stuff on the channel. I don't mind doing like one or two here and there, especially if it's something that's caught my attention just from some of my friends or reading. I do notice through the Facebook group sometimes, just kind of seeing like what people are talking about and kind of give me an idea of like where to go or what bats to review. I really did want to try one of the Suncoast bats this year, just didn't get it done. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more ASA stuff and maybe even kind of messing around with like some camera angle stuff a little bit. I don't know. I haven't completely decided what I want to do there, but I really like, if you guys haven't checked out Fat Guy BP's channel, you need to go do that. Good content on there. And I really enjoy, dude, he makes hitting backside look like it's something that like anybody can do. He makes it look so easy. But I enjoy the fact that like he does like a right field cam, like the backside swings, and then swings around to do like the pull and middle swings. So I would like to do something like that for two reasons. One, it would kind of force my hand, you might say, to try and work the right field stuff a little bit more. I can hit the ball over there. It's more of like a utility type swing, like a swing like you have to do it. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a swing you have to take, not a swing you want to take. And being able to put a camera over there would help out, because like sometimes you do get hung up in the lull of filming and try to keep everything where the camera can see it. It's going to help diversify me as a hitter, because like I feel like I can hit a ball over there now, and it's a different angle too. You're sitting there just watching the same ball, ball into the left center gap, ball through the sixth hole, ball into the left center gap, home run, ball through the middle. At least like the camera angles are changing and kind of keeping your attention a little bit. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. I am going to try and just set up a second camera. I'm not going to mess with moving cameras, but I'll probably just set up a second camera and kind of go from there. And we'll see what we get. Brian and I are going to do some experimenting over the winter time here and see what kind of comes together with different styles and formats of camera angles and ways to do reviews. I've got a couple different ideas on that too. It's really awesome now because Brian is on the same shift that I am. Brian and I work together. Brian is my BP pitcher, a big, tall, skinny, handsome man in all my videos. And he and I work together in this same shift, same building. We eat lunch together, take every break together almost. So we talk a lot of softball. So we're spitballing some ideas to kind of help make the content a little more enjoyable for you guys. Not that it's boring now to some of you, but the more you can kind of keep things changing and keep things moving, the more you stay ahead of the game, right? So I do want to talk about one thing. I posted this on Facebook and I posted it on the BP Heroes main page, and it is the bat collection picture that everybody saw. Pull this up, full screen it. Okay, so let's talk about this. What we got is BP Zero's collection of bats. And there was people like, oh, where's the Easton's at? Where's the this? Where's the that? But here's the deal. There's bats that carry hype. There's bats that, you know, everybody's like raving about, and there's bats that people are paying good money. I'm talking good money, guys. Paying good money for bats that perform just the same as a lot of the stuff you're seeing here. Obviously, 240 stamps aside. We've got, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got 8 220 stamp bats. Got some 240s. Even got some old before the thumbprint stamp bats. Let's just kind of run through them here real quick. I do want to talk about them. And like I said, I'm like a minimalist when it comes to spending money on stuff. Well, sorry, on certain things. And bats is one of them. Why would I pay $250 for a highlighter or whatever bat's carrying the hype that week? Why would I pay $250 for a used bat when I can pick up an Envious for $130? Now, I am thrifty. I am looking for deals. I'm always keeping my ear to the street, kind of looking for some cheap stuff. But there's no need to pay $250 for a 220 stamp bat that's going to hit the ball this way, because I guarantee you this Envious, this Freak 30, this D2E Psycho, any of those Integrities, even the Eclipse, any of those bats are going to perform with any 220 stamp bat out there. I don't care who says what about it. That's facts. So why do I need to pay $250 for a bat when I can keep my ear to the streets, look out for a deal, do some shopping around, and not have to buy hype? I didn't pay over $130 for any of these bats in this picture that I did pay for. Now, I'm not going to go through which bats were given to me by manufacturers in support of the grind. I'm not going to do that for a multitude of reasons. I don't want to get into that. I don't have to get into that. But I can tell you that the bats that I paid for in this picture, besides the custom integrities, I didn't give over $130 for any of them. Be thrifty. Look for deals. You don't have to buy what Facebook tells you to buy. You don't have to buy what YouTube tells you to buy. And yes, I understand, like, I get excited about bats, and I might try and sound like I'm hyping a bat once in a while. But some people also enjoy having new stuff. I'm not knocking having new stuff. You want the latest and greatest. That's cool. But if you're buying a bat based on, what's the best U-Trip bat out there post on a Facebook group, and you run out and buy one of those because that's what somebody said. I mean, I could do a social experiment, you might say right now. Go on Softball Addict's Facebook page and say, what's the best U-Trip bat? Look how many answers I get, and look how many of them will be different. It's amazing. That should tell you right there, as far as I'm talking 220 stamp stuff right now, that should tell you right there that there is so many bats out there that are so good. There's no need to pay a ton of money for something. There's just not. Because you can go through that list, do a little shopping around, do a little bit of research. Hell, ask me, I'll tell you. That's kind of what the whole page was built around. When I first started this page, obviously, I know I've told the story several times, so I guess dislike the video and leave if you don't want to hear it. I'll be brief. So what kind of started this whole YouTube gig for me was softball fans back in the day, right? There was, guys always used to be posting their swings, looking for advice with stuff. I was new to the game. I was ate up with it. I wanted to get better. And I started posting my swing, saying, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And by the way, I have nothing to hide. All of those videos are still on this channel. You just got to scroll back 8-something years. But they're all here. 100%. Oh, gosh dang it. 100% they're all still here. Like I said, I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to run from. But I was, looking for swing advice and doing this and doing that. And somebody would say, well, what about this batter? What about that batter? Next time you do that, swing this bat. And one thing led to another. And, it's like, okay, well, I'll swing this bat today, and what'd you think about it? Well, then I'd swing another bat. Well, what'd you think about it? And I kind of realized, like, man, I'm kind of getting a little traction here. Like, people are interested in this, and I kind of enjoy doing it. One thing led to another, and here we are. Obviously, if you were in on Softball Fans back in the day, the guys were the owners, I shouldn't say the owners, the people that worked at Softball Fans were very active in the forums, very active in the community. So I said, what the hell? I kind of reached out to them and said, hey, look. And sorry, I was reading the chat. I said, hey, look, I'm kind of doing this bat review thing. What do you guys think about partnering up? And next thing you know, they're taking care of me. They did such a good job taking care of me. COVID hit, things got weird for a lot of businesses. It wasn't just them. It was a lot of businesses. And I had to make a, what you might call, business decision to move on for what was best for the channel. And that is now how we are affiliated with HB Sports. But nonetheless, sorry, I'm getting just, I get to talking about the Softball Fans days, man. It just kind of gets me right in the feels, So yeah, that was all that. But being thrifty and all that stuff is kind of what started the channel. It's like, you don't have to buy the hype. I was telling people, don't buy the hype. You don't have to. These are all, this is a good bat. This is a good bat. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. Like when the Z4, what was it? Was it the Z4000 Plus? There was what D2E, Down to Earth Sports, is really what got the exclusive game started. And they released an exclusive, and yes, I know I have one here in my collection. We'll get there in a minute. And they would release an exclusive. Everybody would rave about it, and I would go out and swing and be like, you know what, this thing is decent. It's not mind blowing. And the Z4000 Plus was one of my favorites. So my friend Cody, who is local here, actually won one in a raffle, and people are offering him seriously like $500 or $600 for this bat. And the video starts. He's just standing there. Cody's off the wall, man. So he said, "This is what you do with the $400 or $500 raffle bats." He goes, "You take them out and you swing them, and just rip the wrapper off of it." And then me and him went to town swinging it for the review. And the moral of the story is it was good, but it wasn't as game changing like everyone thought it was. One thing led to another. That's where we are today. So I said all that to say, just be thrifty and look for deals. And that's what I've done here. Starting with like the DeMarini flipper. Seriously, I gave $80 for this thing. And this flipper right here, this is the only ASA bat in my collection. Where we play ASA at, we don't need ASA stamped bats. Missouri sanctioned ASA allows you to use a U-Trip stamped bat. I can use any bat. I can use any bat here besides that Proton Senior. As long as it has a 1.20 BPF or an ASA stamp, it can be used. I like it. It's a lot of fun for me because I can just swing my U-Trip gamers. I shouldn't say you shouldn't, but in my situation personally, I feel like you shouldn't have to have a bat for ASA and a bat for U-Trip if you could swing one bat for everything. 52s rely way more on how they're hit than what they're hit with. So the only reason I have this ASA bat is for the odd occasion that I do need to swing an ASA bat, or my wife, who does play occasionally, really enjoys it. This is the original flipper that was on the channel in 2016. The first one, this is the flipper. Brian bought this thing when it brand new, and I couldn't tell you. Seriously, it's got to have close to 3,000 swings on it, I would think. I mean, he was hitting apex bullets with it. He hit I don't know how it held up, but it did. It's ridiculous hot. One of my favorite ASA bats ever. So I had to have it. Brian was like, "Hey, I think I'm selling this thing. I'm tired of looking at it." I was like, "Dude, give it here." I didn't even give him an option. Then we got the old Easton L5, a $40 pickup. I think $30 actually is what I gave for it, from a friend. He was like, "Yo, just trying to get this stuff out of my garage." And I told him, I think they're worth probably $40, $50. He was, "How about 30? I was like, "Deal." Sent him the money. He sent me the bat. And that's my BP bat. That thing's probably got 3,000 swings on it. Still testing at like 270. If you're familiar with the 2012 Eastons, you got to beat the brains out of them before they get good. This thing will eventually get good, but I probably still won't game it. Because why swing a bat that tests, 220 and feels good when I can swing an Envious at test 170, which this Envious doesn't. This Envious I got from our guy CV Laws in the chat, who comes in here once in a while. He got me a really good deal on this thing. He was flipping some bats and had some stuff going on, a few moving parts there. And he's like, I can get you this for a good deal if you want it. I said, absolutely. I thought it'd be kind of cool. I mean, I'm repping HB. Might as well try and swing an HB bat, right? So this will be my gamer for 2022. Unless I end up somewhere that I have to swing a 240 stamped bat, this is what I will be swinging. Freak 30, got from a friend of mine for like $140. OG, this is OG shit, 28 ounce. And again, just being thrifty, looking for deals. People do post bats cheap and at reasonable prices. You just got to be quick or they're gone. D2E Psycho, this one, gosh. I can't even tell you how I originally obtained this bat. I bought it used somewhere, I think, obviously. I bought it used. It was in pretty good shape. Gamed it for almost 2 years. And then sold it to a good friend of mine. And I said, hey, look, I said, if you ever sell this bat, I want it back. He had it in his bag for a couple of years. And he would hit it in BP once in a while. He was hitting it in league. And I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I said, you still got that bat? He says, yeah. He said, it's got a pretty nasty looking zipper in it. He said, I'll sell it to you really cheap. So I bought it back and swung the piss out of it most of the year this year. It does have a pretty gnarly looking zipper in it. Thankfully, we hit a lot of 52s. And the other side of it, too, is the fact if you just hit the other side of the zipper. But it is just unbelievably hot. Dude, it's so good. That was one of my top tier favorite bats of all time is this D2E Psycho, and obviously the Freak 30 as well. And the Envious is the same build as the Freak 30, short barrel mic-in, half-ounce in-load. It's good. I mean, like I said, there's so many good 220 stamp bats out there. The Freak 30 might feel better feedback-wise, but I can promise you, if they were both testing the same on the compression tester, they would be exactly the same. So then we're moving into the Integrity. That's kind of what started my love affair with Pure. I don't even remember what bat. I traded Brian for this Integrity, the Silver Integrity. And, man, I fell in love instantly. It almost felt like I know I got a few Combat guys in here. It feels eerily similar to the Combat Avarice. Almost, even though it's a one-piece, there is a little bit of what you consider flexing the handle. It feels like a two-piece bat. It flexes like a two-piece bat, but it's a one-piece, and the barrel was just super soft. Oh my gosh. I mean, I had an absolute blast swinging this thing. It did kind of start cashing out on me a little bit. It's got a pretty nasty sharp tooth in it on one side, and it is a smidge too light for me, but it was so good that I didn't care. And that's kind of what started the love affair with Pure. Now, I reached out to Pure. I was like, hey, look, what's it take to do a custom? And sure enough, coincidentally enough, my guy Casey Krasner, I hope I said your last name right, Casey, if you're here or you watch this later. I reached out, and coincidentally enough, he was a fan of the reviews. He's been watching the reviews for years. Casey's an awesome dude. He took care of me. I helped us get these Pures done. And man, it went from there. A lot of people bought them. And I bought a bunch of them too. I got in a pinch and needed some money. Life shit happens, So I have the gamer that I gamed the year that I got these. I have a new and wrapper one piece, a new and wrapper two piece, and I will probably never ever take these out of the wrapper. But I'm not going to sit here and ramble about bats for the rest of forever. I can tell you, like I said, not every bat in this lineup has been paid for. The support and the grind from these manufacturers has been a huge help for me over the years. And these are bats that I have on hand. If I ever need a 240 stamp bat, or need a bat for this, or need a bat for that, or I got bats. I got bats for days. I'm taken care of, and I can't thank those guys enough for that. So enough about rambling about bats. Let's get caught up with chat here real quick, and then we'll roll into the next topic. Somebody wanted to know, softball fans forums gone. So to my understanding, somebody mentioned something about it on one of the Facebook groups, and essentially what it sounds like is something happened IT wise, like on the backside of things, with the forum, and it's not like a huge priority. So it's just going to be like, we're going to get to it when we get to it kind of thing. And that pretty much came straight from Chad, who works at Softball Fans. So it may come back. I'm assuming it will at some point, it sounds like. I can't tell you when. But if it doesn't come back, and no, I'm not active on there anymore. But man, just the times and the memories, and like I say I'm not active on there anymore. I log in every once in a great while and kind of tool around a little bit. But the Softball Fans forum went through kind of a weird transition. So Facebook pages were really starting to take off. You got raffles going on everywhere. And then at the same time, Softball Fans was really cracking down on people. Word I'm looking for here. People doing rep stuff. So basically people selling what you would consider under the table on the forum. Well, that's undercutting Softball Fans. You know, if I'm a headbanger rep and I'm selling stuff on Softball Fans through my PMs, why would Softball Fans facilitate a place for me to sell stuff when they have their own store? And a lot of people didn't realize that they had their own store, but they in fact do. When it comes to, you know, things like, and then they went to the rule where as long as we don't sell it, you can do it, but there's still no like company reps, and it got really sticky for a while, and I don't know, things just got weird. So people started rolling off to Facebook pages. So it was basically the Wild West out there. You had raffles going on. You had, you know, everybody's a rep, you know, I say in loose terms. And yes, technically I am a rep for Headbanger Sports. You won't see me harassing people to buy stuff or pushing stuff a ton. I do have my discount code in my description of my videos. Some stuff it works on, some stuff it don't. They are working on getting affiliate links, so you can just follow a link, and my discount will be applied to anything that's on their website. So that'll be kind of nice. I need to follow up with them on that and see what's going on with that. But I do know that was a plan at one point. But it's just going to be hit or miss on whether the discount code works on stuff or not. If it's stuff that's on sale, I can almost tell you it's not going to. But anyway, back to the Softball Fans thing. So they decided they wanted to go to a different forum layout. Everybody's super comfortable with the forum layout we had. Oh, it's so nice. It's so good. We all love it. And then Softball Fans is like, hey, look, we're going to mix this up. We're going to do something different. We're going to go to a new layout from a new server. We're going to take everything over to the new server. And honestly, it couldn't have happened at a worse time. You had them cracking down on people selling stuff through PM, so you're already kind of pushing people away. And then the Facebook pages really gaining some traction. And then the new forum layout was, I kid you not, nothing like the old one. Like, not even close to the same. It wasn't very wasn't very phone friendly, like if you were on Safari or anything like that. There was promise of there being an app to go along with it too. You could use an app to roll through the forums and things like that. It couldn't have happened at a worse time, and I feel like it was the demise of a majority of the traffic on Softball Fans, and honestly, I'm kind of included in that myself. I was a moderator at the time, and you know, kind of doing our thing on there. It was just hard to keep up. It was hard to keep up. You know, you're trying to keep up with everything that's going on. And then the other issue with it too is like trying to learn how to use this so I can use it for myself to interact with, you know, threads and questions and people and friends, and then trying to figure out how to moderate things too. The intent was there. It was a great idea, but it did not go well. And there was no going back. I do believe, if I remember correctly, the server or the format that the forum was in at the time before they switched it was going to be going away, so they had to do something. I don't know what they could have did different there for maybe like a similar layout type of thing. I don't know, but changing over really kind of was what killed the forum. Personally, in my opinion, it's, you know, Softball Fans, the guys that are here talking about it, I see some of you in the chat. Those are the days, man. I'm telling you, it was like a Facebook group, but it was one giant Facebook group. It was so many users. There's always people online. Yes, you had your trolls. but you have those out there on the Facebook pages now. People just don't care. The day and age of the internet, people will say whatever they think because they don't have to say it to your face. So it gets wild, just like anything on the internet. But it was the days. It was the days, man. So let's see. Josh wants to know, how would an ASA Derby Boys stack up in your 8 from this year? ASA Derby Boys would, no question, be on top. The orange 2013 Combat ASA Derby Boys and the 2013 Combat ASA Wanted are like 1 and 2 for me. Best of ASA like ever. Argue with me if you want. I don't care. Do not care. That is straight facts from the BP Hero. Now, what I'm going to tell you now is don't go out and run out and pay some kind of ridiculous money for one because I said it was the best, because it is. That's what I'm talking about, though. There's other bats that perform close to as good. The Blue Flipper is obviously in that top tier category of like the performance-wise with the ASA Derby Boys. But man, those ASA combats from back in the day were special, man. They really were. Let's see. That says, I like your honest reviews. He liked the Juno MR1. No, I did not like the Juno MR1. I'm actually trying to sell one for a friend of mine right now. Yeah, it was one of those things like, man, if somebody took the time to break it in, it probably would be nice. Weight-wise, it feels great. And the barrel kind of felt like it was finally maybe starting to come around. But why, from a standpoint of trying to suggest bats to somebody, assuming not a lot of people are going to take as much BP as I do, then I can't suggest that bat to someone knowing it needs 500 or 600 swings to get loosened up to what I feel like would be game worthy. That's not saying people can't like it. People can't break them in and it won't be nice. I don't have the time to devote to that. So that's just kind of where it lands on me as far as that goes. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the jacked bats. I forgot about the jacked bats. Who was the guy on the internet? See if somebody can link the video. There's some guy in Tennessee. He was really hyping those jacked bats. I was like the Jack Nemesis or whatever, claiming to hit balls, 500 feet. And don't get me wrong, he was straight whacking them softballs. But I remember that jacked, he was some kind of big jack disciple. And dude, he was cranking him out there, but he's claiming 500 feet on all these hits and trying to hit balls off some kind of church like in left center field back there. It was wild. That was the day and age of the internet before it became like the internet, And yes, Mike, you're right. Everything on Facebook is now PM is key. No, PM is not key. Just post your fucking price. I don't even bother looking. Even if it's something that's like, exactly what I'm looking for, that means you want some ridiculous price for it and you're embarrassed to say what it is. So now I've got to reach out to you to figure out even if you want to trade or sell. There's people that won't even say if they're trading or selling. They won't say what weight their bats are. Dude, Facebook pages suck. Maybe we should start a Facebook page and give it rules. If you don't follow the rules, we get to delete your post. You got to have a price. You got to say if you're trading or not. You got to put what weight it is. Why are you looking at me like that?
Very passionate about this, so I was really concerned that somebody said that because I knew you were going to do that.
Do what?
Step on your soapbox.
Oh, yeah. I've been soapboxing for a while. You missed out. Yeah, shucks, right? One listener we don't have the podcast, my wife. So yeah, maybe we should start us our own Facebook page. You got to post a price, weight. Maybe I'll even give people like a template to use. Like, answer the damn questions. You got to have a price. Are you trading? What weight is it? How many swings are on it? Does it have a receipt? There's an idea, but I also don't want to be in charge of a Facebook page either because I'll put my head through a wall. But anyway, yeah, Matthew, there was the Kelly's Ultimate Sports videos. That's actually not what I was talking about, but those were interesting. Those were also the kind of the bee's knees back in the day. It was old Anthony Kelly, man. He could put a whooping on a softball too. A couple of my videos, like I made the post on Facebook a while back, like what's some of your favorite videos to watch, and A couple of his honestly were mine. Just cranking softballs. One of them was the Bryson Baker Gear Virus. Any of my combat guys remember that one? He had an insane round with one of those. There was all kinds of stuff. He would have guest hitters on there. But my favorite thing ever was the guy that would sit behind the camera and commentate. It's a 65-degree day out here at the park, hitting a U-trip softball. This bat's fresh out of the wrapper. Oh, he hits one. It's 350 into the gap and gone into the trees. If you know what I'm talking about, it was so cringe. I actually got a friend of mine that said he was totally going to like watch one of my videos and commentate it like that. And then I was just going to like patch it into the video and post it just to laugh about it. His imitation of it is like spot on. I'm terrible at it. It was a show. It was always a show. The hype man. No, it's the wind's blowing in, but it's not going to be enough to hold Anthony Kelly back. Oh, there goes another one. That one's close to 400 feet, folks. Cringe. Yes, Steven. So I don't know why I said headbanger. Yes, Kelly's Ultimate Sports was out of California, I do believe. Let's see. So, real quick, let's talk about the insanity. I'm going to squirrel you for just a second, then we'll get back into softball. Let's talk about the insanity that was NFL football this weekend. I think I got a couple Steelers fans in this chat, and I'm sorry, boys, but I did not want to see Big Ben make the playoffs. If you're a Chiefs fan, you wanted to see Big Ben make the playoffs. But I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be a 30-point game. The Chiefs are just going to just mop the floor with the Steelers. Calling it now. It's not even going to be close. And just because I'm a troll, I wanted to see that game. If you don't know what I'm talking about. So, yes, Patrick, I'm really bad at this. Yes, Patrick, Kelly's Ultimate was bought out by Smash It Sports, just like everything else in the country. What was that? Anyway, so the Steelers win in overtime to make the playoffs. But the twist here is how it was going to work out record-wise and everything else. The Chargers and the Raiders had to play each other. And because of how the records would have fell compared to the Steelers, if the Chargers and Raiders tied, then the both of them make the playoffs and the Steelers are out. And, everybody's thinking like, oh, they should just go out there and shake hands and call it a game. And there was part of me that thought like, man, that, you really should. Like, why put the wear and tear on your players? And then somebody mess around and get hurt. But at the same time, it's kind of like the sportsman-like thing to do is go out and play the game. But man, what a game it was. Everybody joked around talking about it was going to be a tie. Ha, ha, ha. Well, the next thing you know, overtime starts. The game was tied. The Chargers made an incredible comeback in the fourth quarter. I mean, Justin Herbert basically went out there and said, yo, look, boys, I'm done bullshitting around. I'm throwing darts, and you better find a way to catch them. And he did, man. That was impressive to watch. I knew Justin Herbert was a good quarterback. I've watched him play a handful of times. But, man, like he put on a show. I know at one point he'd thrown the ball up to like 60-something times. They'd converted like 6 fourth downs in a row. It was just an incredible display of offense in the fourth quarter for the Chargers. The game goes into overtime. And, they're all going back and forth. One thing leads to another. And it comes down to the last 30 seconds of the game. The game is tied. The clock is running out. And rumor has it, there's a couple different rumors here. One rumor was they were going to let the clock run out. The Raiders had the ball close to field goal position. And rumor had it they were going to let the clock run out, let the game be over. Both teams make the playoff. Big Ben gets to go home, which was ideal for me because I don't like Big Ben. But anyway. And for whatever reason, the Chargers call a timeout. And this is where things get interesting. There was people saying that the Chargers called the timeout because they wanted a chance to potentially stop the Raiders, get the fourth down, call the timeout again, and then have at least a chance to score. But then there was also the rumor I haven't seen any pictures, screenshots, anything else. But a lot of people said that there was a wide receiver set up on the outside for the Raiders with nobody guarding him. And that's why he called the timeout. In case they did try and get a playoff, this man's wide open. The game's over anyway. So here you are. You're the Raiders. The clock has stopped. You have to run a play. Your hand is kind of forced, right? So they run a running play, end up getting a first down and getting themselves into field goal position. And arguably one of the best kickers in the league gets up there and blows one through the uprights, 40-something yards. So the Raiders win, which means the Chargers are out. So instead of the Raiders and the Chargers tying, both teams making the playoffs. Now it's the Steelers and the Raiders in the playoffs. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you're glad that happened. Because I can tell you right now, the Chiefs secondary did not want to see Justin Herbert. So if you're a Chiefs fan, you're happy this happened. Adam says, yes, the Chiefs secondary is not very good. No, it's not. But Big Ben, what made him so good for years was the fact that he could run. And I don't mean like run, like tuck the ball and run for 60 yards like Lamar Jackson. But I mean run, he could move. He was mobile. And you couldn't bring the guy down. He was so hard to bring down. That's what made him so good. I mean, guys would just slide down his back and he'd, roll out and throw a bomb to Hines Ward or Antonio Brown or whoever he had. He had some decent weapons throughout the years. But that's what made him so good is the fact that he could take a beating. You couldn't bring him down. And he did have a cannon for an arm. But, man, he's a little past his time. Frank Clark is sacking him 3 times this weekend. Calling it. They are going to wear Big Ben out. I mean, they're having his retirement party after the game in Kansas City. The room is already booked. They're probably going to have it right there at Arrowhead. So he can go straight from Arrowhead to the plane. Retirement party for Ben Roethlisberger. Kansas City after the game. Telling you. It's all booked. They got the little cupcakes made at some little store there in town, I'm sure. It's done. He's over. This is it. Sorry, guys. But it is. But it was still fun. It was fun to watch all of that unfold. Good drama, right? We like drama sometimes. Well, that was good football drama. And, Mike, you are right when it comes to, you said highly doubtful. You don't think any team would let their rival in the playoff. So, yeah, there's that side of it, too. Maybe they don't want to let their rival in the playoff. But the other side of it, too, is who would you rather have in the playoffs to have to get? Because eventually, if the Raiders win, and if the Raiders win some games in the playoffs, and if they have the Chargers made it, they win some games in the playoffs, they'd have to see the Chargers again. And if you're in the AFC as a whole, you don't want the Chargers in the playoffs. Because that offense gets rolling, it's something to see. So, I mean, if you got to ask anybody if they would rather play the Steelers or the Chargers, of course everybody's going to say the Steelers. So, the Raiders are also playing a little bit of defense for themselves there by making sure the Chargers didn't get in because they don't want to have to play him again. Hell, they barely beat him, Patrick, the NFL blows except for Green Bay. Banned from the chat. Thanks. Have a good one. Will Gruden get one of the coaching vacancies? No. Gruden is absolutely toast. Scumbag shit. He's done. Gruden will never coach another NFL team in his career. Probably never have any kind of NFL-related job ever again. Anybody that... I'm not going to get too far down this rabbit hole, but anybody saying some of the stuff that he was saying, I got no time for you, bro. So 2 things left here. Real quick, I do want to talk about, if you're still here, which we're rolling, got a decent amount of viewers here. Thanks to everybody for hanging out on the BP Hero Podcast, Season 7, Episode 2. So what are some of my takeaways from the podcast with Bazat as far as suggestions that he made, some of the shop that he was talking and that kind of thing? One thing I found interesting was how confident he was to be willing to swing 3-1. And, we were talking about it a little bit afterwards, me and some of my friends were. And the big takeaway from this is the fact that at the level he's at, you're facing some of the best pitchers in the country. So a 3-1 pitch from one of the best pitchers in the country is, going to be a roller. Like he said, everybody figured out he wasn't swinging 3-1, so they're throwing rollers in there just to get a strike over, and then you're at the mercy of the pitcher for the next pitch. But the message to take away there is the fact that, like, if you get a good 3-1 pitch, hit it. That doesn't mean goods go up there, rare and ready to go every 3-1 pitch. And kind of what he talked about was, use that 3-1 pitch to take that aggressive swing. I asked that question, is that something where you take a super aggressive swing, and if you miss, you still got another strike? Like, try and hit a line, try and hit a ball into, like, the right field or left field corner. Do something that would be big, but it has to be the right pitch. It also goes back to knowing pitch selection. Have your mind made up, like, all right, so if he throws me something chest high and outside, I'm burning up the first base line with it. If that's your pitch to do that with. But you have to convince yourself, and you have to be sure of yourself, A, that is what's going to happen if you swing the bat. If you've taken enough BP, and if you're experienced enough, then you can swing in a pitch and know, like, this is what's going to happen with this pitch every time I swing the bat. So you got to know that, and you have to make sure the pitch is in the exact spot you want it. So you're talking discipline, pitch recognition, understanding the strike zone, and what you're capable of. There's a lot of things that have to come together there for you to go hacking 3-1. But when you're at the level that he's at, facing the pitchers that he was facing, and being the hitter that he is, he's a great hitter as well, you can get away with swinging 3-1 like that. I don't want to see everybody out here playing D swinging 3-1 just because Kevin Bazat said to. That's not what he's saying. But what he's saying is in the right situation, go hard. In the right situation, not any situation. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, Adam says the same thing. Depends on the situation also. Yeah, 100%. If there's no outs, yeah, definitely. If you look at ending an inning, that's a big one. If there's 2 outs and you're swinging 3-1, that's going to be a tough sell for you to turn around and look at your teammates after you made the last out of an inning swinging 3-1. It's going to be a tough sell. Real tough. But I found that very interesting. I like his, discussion about the middle to communicate. You have to communicate, and guys have to be willing to move and listen to you. That's a big one. That's a big one no matter what position you play. If you're shortstop, communicate with your guys. Talk with your guys. Say, hey, I'm going here. Hey, I'm going there. What do you think about this? And make sure the pitcher's part of the discussion too. So the pitcher's not, 1, covering a fielder up, and 2, sorry, I was reading the chat here, squirrel. So 1, as a pitcher, you're not covering a fielder up, and 2, you're pitching to your defense still. That's a big one as far as like a pitcher's crash course is you got to let him hit it and pitch to your defense. If you got your defense set up to push, don't give the guy something to pull. There's bigger holes over there. The left field, there's bigger holes. If you got your defense set up to push, throw the guy outside and make him hit the ball where you got your defense at. A lot of it has to come together, and I really enjoyed the fact that he was emphasizing the fact of communication. I really did enjoy that. And I enjoyed the podcast as a whole. I mean, we talked about so much stuff. I need to look and see when the dates are for the Smoky. He's got me intrigued to go watch the Smoky for no other reason than making it a spectator sport. Go down there, hang out. Maybe we have like a subscriber meetup at the Smoky, right? Go down there, watch that stuff. I believe they do a home run derby for that too. And, there's all kinds of other stuff to do around there too. Maybe go do that for a couple of days. It would be a good fun vacation. Brian and I kind of like threw around the idea. We don't have our vacation scheduling turned in yet, but we do have to soon. So I think we might be looking into that. I don't know, but it would be really fun to go down there and watch that. And just hearing some of the stories and some of the names he was talking about. It's like back in the day stuff. Some of the names he was saying, it's like, man, I remember that guy. I remember this guy. And even some of the locals too. It's guys like I completely forgot played or I always thought they were just an umpire. It was cool. I had a lot of fun with that podcast. We need to see about having him on again once we get a few tournaments into the season. And, it's kind of like maybe, how's things going, kind of thing. He's one of those guys that could just, talk about anything. So we'll have him back. Maybe we'll have him back on and kind of see how that goes. But one more thing, if you follow the BP Hero page, where the YouTube stuff is, I posted on there today. I'll even pull it up so I get the exact wording right here. Stand by, kids. Okay, here we go. So, the question was asked, if you were to participate in a home run derby, which format would you prefer? Hit until there's 10 outs, or you get 10 swings, or hit as many as you can in a period of time. And it's actually had a pretty decent amount of engagement here. This was 7 hours ago, and you can still go over and vote. It's just a kind of a conversation piece. And I was very surprised to see how many people said it. I mean, it was a landslide. There's 114 votes, and 59% of that said a hit until there's 10 outs. I found that interesting, really. I personally feel like the 10 swings thing kind of rewards consistency. Obviously, you're talking hitting until 10 outs. It's kind of the same thing. Because if you get in the consistency of hitting home runs, then, gosh, you could have a monster round, right? And, watching baseball, that stuff is fun to watch. To me, slow pitch is a little bit different. But I personally would do like just a 10 swing format, or maybe like hit as many as you can in a certain period of time. Because if the pitcher's grooving and the batter's grooving, yes, I understand that's the name of the game is hit home runs and put on a show, but it makes you have multiple rounds of good rounds if you're cutting someone down to 10 swings. Is if you're going through a bracket or going through whatever, as opposed to one guy hitting 40 home runs one round and 10 the next. Yes, the consistency could still be had with hitting until 10 outs, but it's more interesting to me personally to watch someone with 10 swings. So I was interested to see that everybody said hit until there's 10 outs. I mean, it was a landslide, absolute landslide, because Brian and I were actually throwing around the idea of maybe obviously on a local standpoint, maybe when the weather gets a little bit nicer, having a home run derby for nothing more than shits and giggles. There might be a prize involved, there might not. But just something kind of get the guys together, to get everybody out swinging, and obviously do the home run derby while it's still cool outside, right? Because who doesn't want to go out and hit a bunch of bombs while it's cold outside? So I don't know. I'm not, saying put this in your book or, just like anything. We've been talking about having a subscriber tournament for years, but the home run derby would be super simple. It'd be quick. It wouldn't be an all-day affair. And obviously it would be hard for someone to travel to come in for it, like you need subscribers or anything like that. But at least my guys on the local level could come out and enjoy themselves, have a little bit of fun. Everybody's home before dark. So I posted that poll just to kind of see what everybody thought. So that was kind of interesting to see. So thanks everybody for the feedback. But we've hit that hour mark, and I think you know what that means. Thanks for stopping in and checking out Season 7, Episode 2 of the podcast. Catch you guys next week, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central. May have a guest, may not. I haven't decided yet. Swing hard in case you hit it. BP Hero. Catch you next time.